Hello, everyone. I all hope you had a very, very wonderful, great morning and you're still exactly enjoying your holidays as well, guys. As you can see, guys, today it is very much extremely hot, as in literally super hot. But this weather is so much unpredictable. Like the last time yesterday, it quietly rained. It quietly literally rained yesterday when I was exactly busy walking. But today is extremely hot. But anyway, guys, this weather is literally unpredictable and it's so much unpredictable. Despite that, guys, I appreciate your support in viewing and watching my episodes and as well subscribing to them. It means completely a lot to me for all of you who are watching the shorts and also the long videos. It means completely a lot to me. So God bless you all and enjoy your holidays and have a blessed Christmas and a very great Happy New Year. On today's episode, we're here to talk about the superhero known as Planet Boy, who is a member of the Universal Heroes and who exactly believes in their goals to restoring sacred peace and balance and harmony to the sacred world and to the rest of humanity and to the rest of the known universe as well. So let's exactly get to it. In Planet Boy's early life, he grew up on his home planet known as Planet Love, which was on the far fringes of the sacred universe, within the sacred universe, but on the far fringes of the sacred universe. During at that time, Planet Boy and his people were taught many stories about the original Lord of Magic, how he first rose into power, and with the great, powerful dark witch by his side, known as his lover, Amber, the goddess of power, or known by another name, the Witch of Power. How the two of them became the most powerful couple throughout sacred history, thrusting the sacred world and the rest of sacred existence into chaos and into destruction by trying to eliminate and annihilate the supernaturals and the aliens and the superhumans in the process. In the process to further their own plans to recreate the sacred universe and the known universe in their own image by making sure that their magical species and their race remain the dominant ruling species above all the other sentient above all the other sentient species and races of the supernaturals, aliens, and superhumans as well. Despite that, Planet Boy exactly discovered that the Fallen, who is also an ancient super villain, also attempted to try the same goal and the same goal and the same movement and the same revolution as well as the original Lolo Magic before the time of the original Lolo Magic. That the Fallen also attempted to do the exact same thing that the Lolo Magic also attempted to do by eradicating and exterminating the supernaturals and the aliens and the superhumans and the Four-Nation Hunters out of the way for good. During at that time as well, Planet Boy continued to further in his studies, studying about the ancient creatures, about the ancient founders who are the first beings and who are the first hybrids and the first creatures and the first beings and the most powerful ancient creatures and beings that lived before the Four-Nation Hunters and before the ancient supervillains ever rose, and that he believed that they're still alive, and that they formed one of the most powerful ancient secret society that's been exactly working within the shadows for the past few centuries and for the past few millennia. Despite that, Planet Boy exactly started digging up through the archives in order to know more about these ancient founders, about these ancient secret society, and discovered that these great sacred wars of galactic, that these great sacred galactic wars and conflicts are literally becoming a harbinger of something very dark and very, very evil along the destruction that they literally are causing from behind the scenes. Despite that, Planet Boy continued to studying about an ancient secret society group of powerful, dark, immortal magic users known as the Order of the Four, which their goals are far different than the Order of the Five, than the Power of Change, than the Order of the Six, Order of the Seven, the Founders, the Sacred Circle, Unholy Alliance, Sacred Five, and the Court of Nature. Far different than these other ancient secret societies' goals and their mission. Their goal is to maintain the cosmic balance of power. Meaning, in other words, making sure that the cosmic balance of power is maintained at all costs. That in doing so exactly with the purpose is to unleashing and creating sinister creatures and monsters to wreaking havoc, to stopping all wars, or either to creating all wars in a process to maintaining the power struggle that's been going on for the past few millennia and for the past few centuries. Despite that, exactly, Planet Boy became to understand that these four dark, powerful, immortal, dark magic users who have formed the ancient and powerful secret society are still highly actively alive and are still highly actively alive and are still actively operating in full secrecy and within the shadows of the sacred world and the rest of the known universe, and they still are posing a greater magnificent threat to the Four Nation Hunters mission and also as well to their goals. Despite that, exactly, Planet Boy exactly discovered that he needs to take his studies elsewhere in order to know more about these ancient beings and these ancient creatures. To do that, he left his home planet and went across and traveled across the known universe and the known worlds for the past few years, able to learn more about them. He even entered through the ancient temples, or he even entered through the ancient temples of Earth, where he was able to meet with the nightmare keepers, who are also the powerful magic users, and they granted Planet Boy all the clarification and all the knowledge about the sacred beast and the sacred creatures of the sacred world and the monsters of the sacred world and their origins and their history and their past and their connections to the sacred galactic war and all of that. Planet Boy exactly continue to study and continue to know more about the forces of evil that the Four Nation Hunters are seriously facing and literally fighting up against. He even discovered that during the 10th century, when the Fallen, who is an ancient powerful supervillain, rose to power and ascended to power, he used an army of supernatural dragons to try to wipe out the supernaturals and the aliens and the superhumans and the magical creatures within their very worlds and cities and planets in a process by creating a catastrophic natural disasters of literally using a crystal that has a power to amplify and create a frequency of a sonic frequency that can exactly create a natural disasters like a springing up a volcano that can activate a volcano on any worldly planets and civilization and cities of magical cities and planet civilizations that are closer to volcanoes, which in other ways can exactly wipe out the supernaturals and the aliens and the superhumans in the process. He even discovered that the Fallen's power is very ancient and very, very powerful, that he's so powerful enough to create a natural disaster and to actually orchestrate one with the power of these crystals, with the power of these ancient crystals and the ancient powers. During at that time, Planet Boy exactly came to learn that the Fallen's empire is still continuing to operate in full secrecy and that his sons and his proteges and his followers and his wife and his wife is a powerful dark sister, a very powerful dark sister witch who's very, very immortal, extremely beautiful, and extremely cunning and intelligent, and very, very, very ruthless and manipulative. She bore the Fallen four children, a daughter and a son, and a son and a daughter. Gave him two children, gave him four children to becoming his successors and also to becoming his successful protege. During at that time, Planet Boy was able to discover that the Fallen may be imprisoned in a dark dimension prison on the other side of the dark dimension prison, but his legacy and the rest of his followers are continuing to continue his legacy and his goals in his name by trying to release him from his imprisonment, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to do that. During at that time as well, Planet Boy became to understand that these forces of evil are secretly working together or either working against each other or secretly operating each other by giving each other information and by secretly handling each other with destructive and compatible technology. During at the time, Planet Boy exactly decided to head straight to the other worlds and cities and planets. He found the other magical cities and worlds and planets haven't been conquered by the Red Empire and by the rest of the Shadow Empire. To do that, Planet Boy exactly decided to fight up against the Red Empire soldiers and against their battle tanks in order to release the people so that they can exactly create their own centuries within the mountains of the magical world. He fought up against the soldiers and against the soldiers' battle tanks and against the soldiers' battle tanks, and he gladly exactly took them down, and one by one, all of them completely after the other. And he liberated the people, and the people exactly able to exactly return to their sanctuary, which is exactly within the mountains of the magical worlds and planets, and they were able to build a city that is quietly protected and glamored with magical spells and magical spells and facility where they can able to organize their own resistance and revolution to take back their cities and their worlds and their planets from the Red Empire and as well from the Shadow Empire in the process. Over the following years, Red Planet Boy exactly remained within the mountains of the cities with the magical creatures and beings until he heard that the Universal Heroes had put an end to the original Lord of Magic, which created a power vacuum within the Shadow Empire, forcing every other Shadow Empire warlord and commander to secretly forming a secretive alliances with ancient groups of supervillains such as the Order of the Five, the Order of the Six, the Order of the Seven, the Order of the Four, and also the founders, the Sacred Circle, the Sacred Five, Unholy Alliance, and the Court of Nature. To secretly supply them with destructive and compatible technology, as well as these ancient groups of supervillains will secretly supply them with more worlds and with more planets that are under their sole control as well. Despite that, exactly, Planet Boy discovered that he has to go out into the universe in order to try to stop the Shadow Empire warlords and commanders from creating havoc and destruction upon the other worlds and planets, and he decided to do so right at this moment. He told the magical creatures and beings that he will not exactly return soon as much as he need to, but he has to fulfill his mission and his duty. But the magical creatures exactly thanked Planet Boy for saving them and also for rescuing them from the oppression of the Red Empire and also from the Shadow Empire, meaning that in other words, they will do whatever they can to get back their city, even if it means by dying for it and also by saving it in the process. Planet Boy exactly reassured the creatures and the beings that he will come back with more help and with more resources for them to fight up against the Red Empire and up against the Shadow Empire in the process. That he can exactly promise them. And the people were reassured, and the magical creatures and beings were reassured that they exactly trust Planet Boy as well. On the 20th on the 20th of February, Planet Boy exactly returned to the Intergalactic Coalition sacred central command, where the Intergalactic Coalition of the Four Nation Hunters were very pleased to meet Planet Boy, and Planet Boy exactly told the Four Nation Hunters that he has great knowledge and great expertise to fighting against the enemies that they're exactly fighting up, and he's willing to exactly help them to defeat the enemies and the forces of evil in the process in order to save the rest of existence and the rest of sacred existence in the process. And he has great knowledge and great texture and ancient knowledge and ancient expertise and skills and talents that can help the Intergalactic Coalition and the Universal Heroes in the process. The Intergalactic Coalition of the Four Nation Hunter leader was very skeptical and very intrigued, and he decided to give Planet Boy a try in order for them to exactly save the worlds and the rest of the planets. Planet Boy exactly created a holographic map of all the magical cities and volcanic islands and volcanic island cities that have been conquered by the Red Empire and also by the Shadow Empire and the worlds that have been under their sole control. Despite that, the Intergalactic Coalition told Planet Boy that the Intergalactic Coalition cannot exactly save all these worlds and all these planets and all these magical cities and island worlds and cities and planets all at once, because their resources are quietly stretched too thin and there's nothing else they can do about it, with the Intergalactic Coalition becoming compromised and under the enemy's influence already. Planet Boy exactly asked who is the new enemy that has placed the most powerful intergalactic coalition under its influence. The intergalactic coalition of the Four Nation Hunter told Planet Boy it is the new Lord of Magic, who has corrupted and influenced the intergalactic coalition of the Four Nation Hunters with his influence and with his associates and with his members and with his operatives and agents within the sacred government and within the sacred government and the sacred authorities of the sacred world. He's managed to manipulate it and he's managed to use it to his advantage to further his ultimate goals and ultimate plans. Planet Boy exactly told the leader of the Intergalactic Coalition that they have to fight the battle and the war from within in order to fight the battle from the outside of the Intergalactic Coalition system, meaning by tearing it down. They tried that before, as the Intergalactic Coalition of the Phoenix Hunters exactly explained to Planet Boy, but it didn't work because the enemy is now well aware of their movements and well aware of their planning, and he's very strategic and very clever, smart, and intelligent being that has powerful associate at his beck and call, who are now his members of his secret society known as the Order of Power, with the goal and with the mission, with the goal and the mission to eradicate the supernaturals, aliens, superhumans, and the Phoenician hunters and the rest of humanity into recreating the sacred universe and the sacred world in a new era, where all the dark magical creatures and beings will remain the dominant species above all the other species of the rest of sacred existence. Planet Boy was quietly intrigued and very shocked out of his life that there is the new Lord of Magic already emerging, and he's already forming, he's already reassembled a group of his that existed for many centuries, and he's already formed powerful alliances with ancient powerful criminals and who decided to exactly aid him with these goals and mission already. Planet Boy exactly told the leader of the Intergalactic Coalition that he'll have to take the missions to himself in liberating all the other worlds and planets. But the Intergalactic Coalition leader of the Phoenician Hunter told him that he cannot do that without any resources he might need. He might need the Universal Founders or the Universal Defending Heroes. And Planet Boy exactly agreed that he would gladly require their assistance as well. On the 15th of March, the Universal Founders and the Universal Defending Heroes and Planet Boy exactly arrived on another planet where they found it quietly, completely inhabited as a stronghold for the Red Empire soldiers and army, with their battleships and battle cruisers and warships and hot air balloons already prepped and ready to go. The Universal Founders and Planet Boy and the Universal Defending Heroes discover they can destroy the battleships and the hot air balloons and an advanced airship fleet in order to try to stop the invasion from progressing. That by doing so, neutralize the enemy's plans before they get to bear fruition. To do that, they exactly agreed. Planet Boy and the rest of the Universal Founders and the rest of the Universal Space and the rest of the Universal Defending Heroes attacked all the rest of the battleships and the battle cruisers and the armada and the rest of the battle cruisers, armadas, and airships and hot air balloons, and they completely destroyed them all, sabotaging the Red Empire's goals and plans before it gets to fruition and before they can exactly begin their next invasion on the other worlds. And they were successfully pleased and very successfully happy that the progress of their plan gladly exactly took place. On the 9th of April, the Universal Founders exactly returned Planet Boy to the asteroid base of the Universal Heroes, where he was able to introduce Planet Boy to the members of the Universal Heroes, such as Grayson, Ferris, Unity, who is now the new Universal Man, and War Boy and Mind Girl, and also Rex, and also Firebird, and also Magic Girl, and also Magic Girl, and also Organic Boy, and Troll Boy, and the World Heroes, and the Universal Space Heroes, and the Universal Space Heroes, and the Universal Space Heroes as well, and the World Heroes, and the United Heroes as well, will also gladly be present during the meeting when they get to meet their new ally and a new member of the team. Universal Man exactly shook hands with Planet Boy, stated to him that he's a member of the Universal Heroes and that he can officially provide them knowledge and expertise of everything he's been researching. And Planet Boy completely agreed that that's exactly what he's willing to do, and that he exactly has all the information and every bit of knowledge that he's been gathered across the known universe and across the known worlds and across the rest of the civilization. It's enough in order to prepare the Universal Heroes and the rest of the United Heroes and the World Heroes from imminent danger and from imminent threats that are about to successfully arise and ascend to power, which they could prevent him at any cost. Universal Man was quietly intrigued as he decided that it's best that they proceed that way. On the 19th of April, Planet Boy and the rest of the Universal Founders headed straight to another unknown world where they found that the battle cruiser of the Shadow Empire warlord was headed on a mission of total destruction, willing to destroy and lay waste to the aliens once and for all. Planet Boy and the rest of the Universal Founders continued to battle against the Shadow Empire warlords and against the rest of these forces and completely took it down and destroyed it in a process. And the rest of the aliens were successfully grateful that Planet Boy and the rest of the Universal Founders were there to save them from being destroyed and from being heavily being annihilated. And they completely thanked the Universal Founders and Planet Boy with their resources and with their expertise, stated to them that the aliens will completely and still will remain allies of the Intergalactic Coalition and of the Universal Heroes and of the United Heroes as well in the process. And they were all gladly pleased as Planet Boy asked the aliens for one little thing, for the knowledge, for the great knowledge about the fallen, and for the great knowledge of the great sacred beasts and monsters and creatures of the sacred world. And the aliens gladly provided him with all the knowledge and with all the expertise. On the 15th of May, Planet Boy was at the asteroid base studying all the books and all the knowledge about every ancient threat and every ancient being that has ever lived throughout the sacred world and the rest of sacred existence for many centuries and for many millennia. He came to realize that the alias as Mr. Shadow was actually a disguise in order to make sure that this ancient organization remained operating in the shadows of the sacred world and the rest of sacred existence, that this organization's name is known as the Order of the Four, with the purpose and a goal to maintaining the balance of power, maintaining the cosmic balance of power, and with the goal of unleashing creatures and monsters to maintaining the power struggle at all costs and any means necessary. And that the original founders of the Order of the Four are the Dark Druid, the Dark Witch, the Dark Faithful, and the Dark Sister. Together, they became the most powerful, immortal, dark magic users ever lived, combining their expertise and their talents and their resources all together. Planet Boy discovered that these immortal, powerful, dark magic users are still actively alive and are still working together and are still causing chaos and destruction within the shadows of the sacred world and within the rest of sacred existence. Planet Boy became to realize that these four dark magic users are still actively alive and that he successfully has to know more about them. On the 29th of May, Planet Boy exactly told the Universal Magic Heroes that he'll be joining them for the expertise mission to saving magical worlds and planets from the Dark Druids and from the witches of the sacred universe, from the witches of the sacred magic dimension, and they all successfully agreed that they'll work together as well. On the 15th of June, the Universal Magic Heroes and Universal Magic Girl and Planet Boy exactly arrived on a magical world that was quietly being attacked by the Dark Witches, and which exactly used their dark magic and their powers to attack the planet and the magical schools of the sacred magic dimension. And the Universal Magic Fairies and Universal Magic Girl and Planet Boy attacked the Dark Witches and completely repelled against their dark magic attacks and completely won the battle. And the rest of the other magic fairies decided to work together to fight off against these Dark Witches and against the forces of their dark magic. And the Dark Witches completely realized that they were outmatched and outnumbered, and they decided to disappear and retreat. During at that time, Planet Boy exactly asked the inhabitants of the magical dimensions of the magical colleges that he needs knowledge and expertise of the ancient, dark, and powerful magic users of the Dark Druid, the Dark Witch, and the Dark Faithful, and also the Dark Sister. The inhabitants successfully agreed that they will exactly provide them. Oh, excuse me, guys, that was just a helicopter exactly passing through. The inhabitants successfully agreed that they'll exactly pass the knowledge and also gave it to him to know more about these ancient, powerful, dark magic users that existed for many centuries and for many millennia. And they exactly as well agreed to that, for saving them and also for helping them. And they stated that the magical colleges of the magical world have agreed that they'll become allies to the Intergalactic Coalition and to the Universal Heroes and to the Universal Magic Heroes. And they gladly shook hands with Planet Boy, and Planet Boy was relieved and very successfully happy that they've gained allies and great expertise along the way as well. On the 15th of June, Planet Boy exactly returned to the asteroid base of the Universal Heroes, where it was able to combine the information and everything else and created a holographic map on every single threat and ancient being that's existed for many centuries and for many years. He discovered that the enemies are still actively alive and they're still highly operating in full secrecy, meaning, in other words, the threat has to be taken care of and it has to be successfully be eliminated as well. On the 16th of July, Planet Boy was completely inducted into the group of the Universal Heroes, as Universal Man completely shook hands with him and stated to him that he's officially a member of the Universal Heroes and that he's one of them and that he's a brother to the Universal Heroes and that these members of the Universal Heroes and of the United Heroes are brothers and sisters and are also allies to you, meaning, in other words, they are all a family one. They are all one big superhero happy family. And Planet Boy was very relieved and very surprised that the Universal Heroes have decided to take him in and also induct him to the group and also making him one of them. He was very happy and very relieved that he has found a place to belong with these sacred heroes once and for all as well. He was very successfully pleased as he hugged Universal Man and told him that he's like a brother to him and that he will never let him down once and for all, and he'll never let the Universal Heroes down, no matter what. On the 15th of August, Planet Boy continued to study more about everything and knowing all about the ancient threats and everything until he decided to return back to the other worlds and civilization and the magical cities and planets in order to discover what was happening beyond his time limit. On the 15th of September, Planet Boy returned to the magical cities and he found the magical cities already being conquered and already being rebuilt and renamed as the Red Empire cities and the Red Empire cities and colonies with a flag with the flag of the Red Empire nation hanging upon the city's capital and everything. He was completely shocked out of his mind that the Red Empire has conquered thousands of civilizations and worlds, cities, planets, and capital magical cities and worlds and planets, and he realizes that the sacred galactic war has spread too thin, that it has even reached the known cities of the other worlds. It has even reached the known cities of the other worlds and civilization of the sacred world and of the rest of sacred existence. That despite that, Planet Boy exactly discovered that he needs to go inside the cities in order to discover what was happening. He discovered that the rest of the inhabitants were under occupation control, and that the soldiers of the cities of the Red Empire were still patrolling the city streets and everything, and that everything else was under control. And he saw the giant statue of the Red King, and also of the new Lord of Magic statue, and also of Lord Jackson's statue, and the statue of the original Lord of Magic within the middle of the city, and the greatest statues of the founders on top of the city's tallest tower. He realizes that these cities being conquered are now being rebuilt and renamed as the Red Empire cities, meaning, in other words, the people and the rest of the inhabitants have successfully accepted their fate, and Planet Boy decided to inform the Universal Heroes once and for all about the situation. On the 19th of October, Planet Boy returned to the asteroid base in order to inform Universal Man on what was happening across the sacred universe and across the known worlds. Universal Man told Planet Boy that the resources are gradually stretched too thin, and that the Intergalactic Coalition is also resources are also gradually stretched too thin, and that there's nothing they can exactly do about it but to save those worlds and planets from being conquered and from being placed under the control of the enemy. That even if they do as much as they can, they will still be back to where they started. Planet Boy exactly told Universal Man that they still have to save those worlds and planets and cities, especially the magical creatures and beings who live there, and liberate them out of the cities. Then they'll figure out the rest of the part another time. Universal Man completely agreed with him as he told him that the Universal Founders and the Universal Space Heroes and the Universal Defending Heroes and the Universal Monster Heroes are doing everything they can in their power to save those cities and those worlds. But Universal Man made Planet Boy realize that their forces are completely outmatched and are completely outnumbered, and that the enemy has gained the most power and the most resources. Planet Boy exactly told Universal Man that the most power comes from the hearts of the people and from the hearts of them working together through cooperation, that they can still defeat the enemy and also exactly triumph from the battle. And Universal Man completely agreed with Planet Boy on that notion as well. On the 19th of November, Planet Boy decided that he needs the magical creatures and aliens and supernaturals and superhumans expertise and help in order for them to take back the cities and the worlds and planets. And he created a giant revolution that all the other magical creatures and beings were forced to fight back against the enemy and completely took down the enemy. The Red Empire soldiers and army forces were heavily equipped with destructive and compatible technology, with heavily equipped with destructive and compatible with destructive and highly advanced technology from the Haviken Core Empire, which is secretly continuing to supply them as part of their deal and as part of the alliance as well. These new assassins and mercenaries and the soldiers and army use the destructive technology against the resistance forces and continue to fighting up against the enemy. Planet Boy continued exactly destroying all the statues and everything, and he brought down the statues and completely fighting and completely freeing them, not until he was captured and apprehended. The Red Empire general, or rather the warlord, exactly told Planet Boy that his efforts in trying to liberate the cities and everything else was quietly flawless, or rather quietly beneath them, that he cannot still exactly do that when they have all the power and all the resources at their disposal. Planet Boy completely brought down from the chains and told the warlord that the day of reckoning is soon exactly coming and that he will bring it to him. To do that, he released every sacred prisoner, every supernatural creatures and beings, and completely told them it's time for them to get out and liberate themselves out from the mess. And he completely liberated them all out and are completely set free from the city. But the cities still remained under the sole control over the Red Empire, as the Red Empire tanks continued to firing against the magical creatures through the mountain, and Planet Boy completely repelled the attacks and saved the creatures. The people, the magical creatures and beings and warlocks and aliens and supernatural and superhumans told Planet Boy they're very thankful for him, meaning in other words that there's still dozens of their people and there's still dozens of their kind and their people still trapped in the city, and then some of them have quietly accepted their fate and everything else that the city is now under the sole control of the enemy. Despite that, Planet Boy told the people that they can never give up as the situation is about to become a hell lot worse. On the 19th of December, Planet Boy returned to the asteroid base where Universal Magical told him that the Dark Druids and Dark Witches and Dark Faithful had begun their dark experiments in destroying worlds and extracting shadow energy and light magic in the process. Meaning, in other words, whatever they're planning is big and it's very, very huge. And it's very about to take this war, about to take the sacred galactic war to a very darker turn. Meaning, in other words, the age of darkness and the age of chaos is about to return along with all this madness. And Planet Boy was not successfully happy with this. On the 9th of January, Planet Boy met up with War Boy, as War Boy exactly told Planet Boy that he shares his same opinion and his same ideals, that meaning they have to do whatever they can to save humanity and the rest of the supernaturals and aliens and the superhumans from their greatest enemy and most powerful enemy, meaning by joining forces together and combining their talents and their expertise, they can still win the war and they can still cripple the Shadow Empire and the Star Empire before they go to an all-out war. And Planet Boy gladly shook hands with War Boy and told him that's exactly what they should be doing, preventing an all-out war from the two empire before they fight for sole control over the sacred universe and over humanity, and one of each cannot ascend and rise to a power by any means necessary. Despite this, guys, Planet Boy is completely skilled in hand-to-hand combat, swordsmanship, tactician, strategy. He's very, very, very compassionate. He's very, very skilled. He's very, very intelligent. He loves books and knowledge. He's very committed to his studies, studying everything about these ancient creatures and these ancient societies. His greatest and most powerful, veritable nemesis is Ghost Master, Golden Knight, and Red Knight. He views them as a threat and is willing to take them down by any means necessary, even the Shadow Empire warlords. He's very compassionate, very protective, and is willing to do whatever it takes to saving the supernaturals and the aliens and the superhumans of the sacred world from being annihilated and from being eradicated by the worst of the worst and by the biggest, baddest, worst of the worst bad guys and supervillains that ever existed. He spent his whole life studying these ancient secret organizations and societies that existed for many centuries and for many millennia. And he quietly views these ancient secret societies and ancient secret terrorist organizations as a threat to world peace and also to sacred peace and also to sacred harmony. And is willing to join forces with other heroes like himself in order to stop these plans and these goals, in order to stop the forces of evil's plans before they get to bear fruit. Even as the power of super hearing and the power of super speed and the power of super strength, endurance, and agility. He's very compassionate, very loving, and very caring. He views the universal heroes as brothers and sisters and is willing to join forces with them to fight up against their common enemy. Their greatest and most formidable common enemy is the new Lord of Magic and the Universal Prince and the Order of the 12 and the Order of the Four and the Power of Change, which is another powerful, ancient, mystical secret society that has existed over for millennia and for many centuries before the other secret societies were all formed as one. Despite this, Planet Boy is very committed, very determined to take down the Red Empire and the Shadow Empire forces and the Red Empire monarch known as the Red King, and willing to stop the Court of Nature and the Hobbiton Core's plans before they get to bear fruit, and is willing to do whatever it takes to saving humanity and planet Earth from destruction and from being laid to waste and from being annihilated. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to protect them. He maintains his usual bases of operation as well as his ancient temple where he can exactly study and focuses his knowledge and everything else, as well as his central headquarters, which is the Universal Heroes asteroid base, where he can study in peace in the ancient archives of the library. The asteroid base is a very quiet, a bigger asteroid base. It has a library room and a conference room and everything else where Planet Boy can exactly study and use it to his advantage for him to know more about his enemies and to know more about his enemies' weakness and power and battle strategy. He's very, very skilled in a sword and very skilled in swordsmanship, marksmanship, in super speed, super hearing. His eyes glow a purple glow, which you can exactly sense and see through the supernatural world and through the glamours of magic that can protect the cities and the worlds and the planets of the magical worlds and cities, and is willing to work with other supernatural creatures and aliens and beings and superhumans to save their worlds and their planets from being overtaken and from being conquered by deadly, powerful adversaries and foes who have existed for many centuries and for millennia. Despite this, he will utilize the resources at his disposal to stop the enemy and to stop the enemy's plan before it gets to bear fruit. He comes from a planet known as Planet Love, which is on the far fringes of the sacred world. His home planet is a small world, which is quietly beautiful and very quietly beautiful. His kind and his species have lived for centuries and many millennia, being told the stories and the legends about the founders, about the original Lord of Magic, the Dark Druids, the Dark Witches, the Dark King and the Dark Grey, the founders, the Order of the Five, the Order of Darkness, these ancient supervillains, the 4 Nation Hunters and the 6 Nation Hunters, and all the warlords and evil warlocks and powerful druids and powerful dark magic users and super criminals. They've been told the stories about these threats and about these heroes and about these sacred hunters trying to fight for soul control, and the others are trying to fight for soul peace and for sacred balance and for harmony in the process. His kind is a very loving species that uses his powers and his abilities to create giant big cities, worlds and temples and everything, and they still lived in harmony and they still continue to do so. They believe in love and they believe in balance, in peace and in harmony. And Planet Boy loves his people and he gratefully appreciates them and he gratefully is grateful for them and is willing to go through as much as any length to extreme measures and lengths to protect them and to protect his home planet from suffering the same fate, from being conquered and from being enslaved by the worst powerful dictator, or either the worst of the worst, baddest, most powerful, immortal villains that ever existed, and is willing to do whatever it takes to stop them and to take them down in the process, no matter what. Well, guys, that's it for today's episode. I also hope you have a wonderful, blessed evening and an afternoon as well. I'll exactly see you tomorrow as well. Take care. Bye. Bye.